यं रूपा कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वापदान्तिकं वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुता पदकमलं श्रीगुरुं वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगण ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितंश्च हे कृष्णा करुणा
सिन्धु
दीनबन्धु जगत्पते
जगत्पते
गोपेशा
गोपिका
गोपिकान्त
कान्त
राधाकान्त नमोऽस्तुते
नमोस्तुते
तप्त काञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वञ्चकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। श्रीकृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम राम राम
राम
हरे
हरे हरे।
Thank you everyone for joining the Bhagavad Gita class today. So today we will be looking at chapter 12, chapter 14, verse 12. Okay. So first I will recite the whole shloka, and then I will ask, and then you can recite afterwards. लोभः प्रवृत्तिरारम्भः कर्मणाम् आशमः स्पृहा राजसी एतानि जायन्ते विवृद्धे भरतर्षभ।
लोभः प्रवृत्तिरारम्भः कर्मणाम् शमः स्पृहा रजस्येतानि जायन्ते विवृद्धे भरतर्षभ।
Okay, so let me recite, and then I will ask for Prabhuji first, and then when Prabhuji is done, then we'll go for Mataji. So Lobaha pravrittir arambah karmanam ashamah spriha rajasi etani jayante vivruddhe bhartarshava. Lobaha pravrittir arambah
कर्मणाम् अशमः स्पृहा रजस्येतानि जायन्ते विवृद्धे भरतर्षभ।
Prabhuji, anyone would like to recite?
Can you scroll it back?
I didn't scroll at all. It is not visible.
Yeah. लोभः प्रवृत्तिरारम्भः कर्मणाम् अशमः स्पृहा रजस्येतानि जायन्ते विवृद्धे भरतर्षभ।
Okay, can I recite too?
Yeah. Yes.
लोभः प्रवृत्तिरारम्भः कर्मणाम् अशमः स्पृहा राजस्येतानि जायन्ते विवृद्धे भरतर्षभ।
Anyone else?
तानि जायन्ते विवृद्धे भरतर्षभ।
Anyone else would like to recite? All right. So then we will move on to the word by word translation. Lobha,
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 greed.
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 Pravrittihi,
Pravrittihi,
Pravritti,
activity.
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 Arambha,
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 endeavor.
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 Karmanam,
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 inactivities.
inactivity.
inactivities.
Ashamaha,
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 uncontrollable.
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 Spriha,
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 desire.
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 Rajasi,
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 of the mode of passion.
of the
on
mode
the
of
mode of
passion.
passion.
Etani,
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 all these.
all
all these.
these.
Jayante,
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 develop.
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 Vivruddhe,
Vivruddhe,
Vipritte,
when there is an excess.
when there
when
is an
there is an
excess.
extent.
Bharatarshabha,
Bharatashrava,
Bharatarshabha,
O chief of the descendants of Bharata.
O
O
chief
chief
of the
of the
descendants
descendant
of
of
Bharata.
Bharata.
Translation, O chief of the Bharatas, when there is an increase in the mode of passion, the symptoms of great attachment, fruitive activity, intense endeavor, and uncontrollable desire and hankering develop. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. One in the mode of passion is never satisfied with the position he has already acquired. He hankers to increase his position. If he wants to construct a residential house, he tries his best to have a palatial house, as if he would be able to reside in that house eternally. And he develops a great hankering for sense gratification. There is no end to sense gratification. He always wants to remain with his family and in his house and to continue the process of sense gratification. There is no cessation of this. All these symptoms should be understood as characteristic of the mode of passion. Again, I'll go back to translation. O chief of the Bharatas, when there is an increase in the mode of passion, the symptoms of great attachment, fruitive activities, intense endeavor, and uncontrollable desire and hankering develop. Before I proceed further, I request blessings from all of you so that words that come from my mouth, they are correct representation of this particular verse. Hare Krishna. Okay, so this, before I go and start talking about the verse, I would just quickly touch upon what this overall chapter 14 means and where we are, and then what this verse means. So the chapter 14, so far I think we have seen this chapter 14 primarily talks about three material modes of nature: mode of goodness, mode of passion, and mode of ignorance. And in the first verse of this chapter, Bhagavan, Krishna, Supreme Personality of Godhead, he declared to Arjuna the knowledge that I am going to talk about this modes of nature is the best of all knowledge. Later on, the next subsequent verses, they talk about how a living entity get conditioned once they get in contact with these modes of material nature. Next, in 14.10, where Bhagwan talks about how these three modes of nature, they compete with each other. So what compete means, what we have seen earlier in the previous lecture, where it says sometimes the mode of goodness become prominent, defeating the mode of passion and ignorance. Sometimes mode of passion defeats goodness and ignorance. And at other times, ignorance defeats goodness and passion. So in this way, there is always competition for supremacy. So that's what we see in 14.10. And in the previous, I think the lecture yesterday, Prabhuji very kindly explained about, Ankur Prabhuji explained about the mode of goodness. So mode of goodness and its characteristics. So now, as the next mode of goodness, that is today's verse, where we are going to look at the mode of passion and what are the characteristics. So if I go back to the verse, it says Lobha pravrutti arambaha karmanam shamaha spruha. I'm not sure whether Prabhuji is sharing the verse on the Zoom, or should I share? Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you, Prabhuji. Yeah. So in the purport, Prabhuji, can you scroll to the purport? Yeah, thank you. So this verse is actually help us understand the primary characteristics of the mode of passion. So in the translation, it clearly articulates the symptoms. The symptoms are great attachment, fruitive activity, intense endeavor, uncontrollable desire, and hankering. Right? So these are the symptoms. And if we see the first word of this verse, let's talk about lobha. So lobha is a Sanskrit word, and in English it means greed. So we'll first talk about what greed means. In simple terms, the greed is what you have, and then you are hankering for what you don't have. Your mind is desiring for what you don't have. That's the lobha. That's the greed. So lobha is definitely hankering for something that you don't have, and you hanker more and more. And this greed creates an illusion. So why? And this desire for hankering, which we don't have, because we have an illusion that by once I get what I don't have today, I will become happy. So at the end, to get that happiness, mind is desiring to acquire what I don't have. That's the greed. But no matter so this is the characteristics of mode of passion. No matter how much we get, as long as the greed holds us in its grip, it will fix our vision to what we don't have. So we constantly think about what we don't have, right? So now there are some. Now we will go deeper into what kind of lobha a person who is in mode of passion he will have. One is attraction to opposite sex. Even the mode of passion itself, it is described. It is, if we go back to, I think 14.8. Let me check which verse it is. Mode of, yes, I think it is mode of, I think 9, I believe. where mode of passion is recognized by the attraction between the man and woman. I think it's not 8, but I'm not able to figure out exactly which one. But going back to our conversation of grade, right? The first item is the attraction to the opposite sex. And when it becomes increase, because here we're talking about how it increases, when it increases attraction, it turns into lust. The second point is the hankering for the material enjoyment. Now, what material enjoyment we're talking about here? So material enjoyment essentially gratify our senses. Some examples are given in Bhagavad Gita for sense gratification for people who are in mode of passion, are getting honor in the society, meaning we are looking for an honor and respect. We are hankering for it. Then we have on the another aspect, we are looking for a happy family with nice children, very nice house. So that's where, if you see in general, the people in mode of passion, they are hankering for. And when they are hankering for what they don't have, they work very hard for that. So that's where the endeavor part comes in. So if we go back to the verse 14.12, so it says lobha pravrittir arambha. So the word arambha is significant. That's where the endeavor comes in. So when there is a hankering, more and more hankering, more and more greed. Now that greed could be for opposite sex, or it could be for material sense enjoyment or material enjoyment for beautiful house. Then person end up working extra endeavor. So he put lots of efforts. So that's the lobha that we were talking about. Now we are going to see some examples from Shastras, and some of the examples you may know already. So now we will see some of the examples. We will see what that greed is, and we'll see different categories. So first example I would like to take is from Mahabharata. So from Mahabharata, Duryodhana is a example of greed and attachment. So as you know, the Duryodhana had as a greed for the power. He wanted to become king, right, for the entire Hastinapur. But initially, Pitama Bhishma, when he proposed to divide the kingdom, Hastinapur for Kauravas and Indraprastha for Pandavas. So Pitama Bhishma tried to solve this problem, but we can see clearly that even if that division is done, Duryodhana was not happy. Duryodhana was also looking for that whole Indraprastha, everything with him. He doesn't want to share anything. And even after completion of 13 years of exiles, when Pandava came back, they go back and they ask for the Indraprastha. I think even the Lord Bhagwan himself, he himself had that conversation with Dhritarashtra. The proposal was, so whatever was agreed before they left for the exile, return that back to Pandavas. That is Indraprastha. But due to greed, and we say for Duryodhana the greed, and why that greed? Again, the association of the bad people. For example, Shakuni. Right? So having the bad association, that greed, the feeling continually keep on increasing for Duryodhana. He didn't agree. He didn't agree for Indraprastha. Then finally then as an alternative proposal was at least to give 5 villages. 5 villages to Pandavas. Duryodhana still didn't agree. And I think I have read that even the Duryodhana even said even the land which can reside on the tip of the needle, I don't want to share with Pandava. So if you see that this sheer attachment to the power, and this attachment constantly we see that keep on growing. So that's the good example of the mode of passion from Mahabharata. The second example in this class I would like to share of a saint. So his name is Bilva Mangala Thakur. So the saint Bilva Mangala Thakur, he was from South India. If I remember, I think the name of the state is Kerala. This is the southern state. He was born in a Brahman family, and it is rich family. But Bilva Mangal Thakur, because of bad association, he was actually spending more time with prostitutes. So particularly there is one prostitute where he was so much in love with. Her name is Chintamani. He spent his whole money, everything on her. The sheer attraction of a woman. So on one day, Bilva Mangal Thakur, his father passed away. So Bilva Mangal Thakur, I think there are some last rites. I mean, when somebody dies, then there are some last rites are done. Body is burned, and then some priest come, they do some puja. And Bilva Mangal Thakur was attending that. But those ceremonies was taking longer, but heart of the Bilva Mangal Thakur was getting restless because he was not able to see Chintamani. His mind was hankering to such a great extent, he was just waiting those ceremonies get over and he can just run. Run where? Just to see Chintamani, the prostitute. So finally, when the ceremonies are done, and then he immediately started walking towards the place where the Chintamani is. That night was, weather perspective, it was a stormy night. Wind, rain, and he come to the on the one side of the river, because the place of the Chintamani was on the other side of the river. There was no one, there was no boat that Chintamani can take and go to the other side of the river. But what he saw is there is the dead body of somebody floating on the water. So Bilva Mangala Thakur, he just ride on that floating body and he went to the other side of the river. And when he reached to the other side of the river, he was kind of walking, running towards the place, and that place is like a multi-floor building. And the entrance was closed because it was a late night. And the Chintamani, that she was thinking that today Bilva Mangal Thakur's dad passed away, so probably he will not come tonight. So she actually went to bed. But here the Bilva Mangal Thakur came, standing in front of the building, and he saw a rope. He just used that rope and he climbed all the way up to and he just entered through a window. And he felt so happy and so relieved to see Chintamani after a long day, long wait. And when Chintamani got up, and she was first of all not expecting, and she said, how come you are here? Your father passed away today. And then next question she asked, how come you climbed up? Because the front whatever door is closed. Then he said, there is a rope. And she started running to the window because she knew there was no rope. And when she saw, there was a big snake. And then she came back to Bilvamangal and she said, what you got and what you used to come up is a snake. And why can't you recognize that it is a snake? You consider snake as a rope? And then she said, why are you so attached to this body, my skin? This is just a skin. It's composed of lots of water and blood, flesh. Instead of that, if you could have attached to the Lord, why can't you attach to the Lord? So she asked that question. And when she asked that question, that moment, that change transformed the heart of Bilvamangal Thakur. There is a story, big story why Bilvamangal Thakur has this particular situation. Also, there is another previous birth. So I'm not going to talk about that here. But I thought to bring this particular story just to say how the greed bewilders, where you don't recognize what is right at that moment. Meaning, when you as a son, you have some duties to do, last rites of your father. And then when you climb up, you don't even recognize you are holding a snake and not a rope. That's so your mind is not taking the right decision. You are completely bewildered. So now this example is attachment to the opposite sex. The first example we saw, Duryodhana, is an attachment to the power. Okay. Now the third example, again, this is all examples of a greed from the Shastras. So next example is Ravana from Ramayana. So as you know that the Ravana's sister Shurpanakha, right? So I'll go over that story quickly. So she saw Ram, she wanted to marry Ram, but Ram rejected. Then she approached Lakshmana, Lakshmana rejected. Then she saw Sita, she wanted to attack Sita, but Lakshmana cut her nose, and then Shurpanakha came back to Ravana. Ravana was furious and he said, okay, let me go and attack Ram. But Shurpanakha said no. But now she put a seed she said, Lord Ram's wife Sita is very beautiful. Why can't you bring her? So that became a seed where attraction for a wife of another person, that started. And then Ravana, I think you know the story, Ravana came and he took a form of, I think, the Brahmana, and he kidnapped Sita with the objective of, it's a greed for opposite sex. Right? So these are some of the examples where we see, and again, I took this example just to see how this greed, whether it could be for power or it could be for opposite sex. So, and we see that in our day-to-day life too. So with these examples of the greed, next thing we'll go back to the verse again, where it says Lobaha, that is greed, pravrutti arambaha karmanam ashamaha. So now we'll talk about ashamaha. So ashamaha is uncontrollable. That word means uncontrollable. Something we cannot control the desires. So I think as a next step, I just would like to go through the purport, and then we'll see what causes these desires, and we'll see how that, what are different ways the desires comes, right? So going back to the purport, where Prabhupada says one in the mode of passion is never satisfied with the position he has already acquired. This we can really correlate well with Duryodhana, where he was never satisfied. He hankers to increase his position. Now, if next Prabhupada writes, if he wants to construct a residential house, he tries his best to have a palatial house, as if he would be able to reside in that house eternally. And as he develops a great hankering for sense gratification. So here, one example, and I think this we can see in today's world too. When one is constructing or planning for a residential house, sometimes he may need, for example, say 2-bedroom house, but he wants a 5-bedroom house. So if you see, sometimes need versus wants, and those wants is nothing but hankering for what you don't have. So if he wants to construct a residential house, he tries his best to have a palatial house, even though he may not need it. And this kind of hankering we see in every small things that we see. For example, sometime in US here, you know, the Black Friday. So one example I have seen, let's say people are hankering to buy, say, a television. You go with the vision, okay, I want to buy a television of some size, say 30 or say 40 inches. But when you end up in the shop, and if you see that there, the televisions are organized side by side, from small, medium to large sizes. When you see what you have in your mind and bigger one next to it, then automatically that hankering starts for getting bigger. And sometimes people end up getting a large size, sometimes 60, 70 inches. So those are some of the examples from real world, and there are many. This is some of the things that I could quickly share in this call. Okay. So that's why Prabhupada clearly articulates how that hankering develops, especially for when you are in the mode of passion. And Prabhupada then clearly said, there is no end to sense gratification. There is no end. There is no limit. Right? So now I will talk about what are the causes. Why this hankering? So one reason is this greed is based on your past karma. So let's say you have some bad karmas and that continues, that bring that greed or the hankering in your next life. And the second one is the mode itself act on it. So what that means is, when we say modes, this is the chapter on modes of material nature. There are 3 modes, and it's, as we said, right? They compete with each other. Sometimes one mode is defeating others. So when the mode of passion become more or defeating the others, so what it means, so it offers, so every mode offers the options. Mode doesn't select a desire for you. So for example, mode, if I take the example of television, mode is not taking a decision that you should take a large size TV, now you are in a shop. No. Modes of nature present you the option, but the final decision maker is that soul itself. And that's where the free will comes into play. So we select a desire based on the knowledge, intelligence, and a free will. Again, this is just like indicative 3 parameters, but these are the primary ones. Based on knowledge and intelligence and free will, person selects a desire. But what we need to be cautious about, that when you select a desire, that okay, now I want to do this, each has some consequences. So we can say, okay, I select one desire today, but after some time, because as a free will, I change my desire. However, whatever desire you take, the consequences for that something cannot be changed. Hence, one need to be very cautious when we make a decisions in our life. Okay, so typically what happens is, people are, so the two things, either people are placed in the circumstances, or number 2, people choose the circumstances or the desire. So first category we'll discuss now, where people are placed in that situation. So one example is, say a person who is born in a family where the whole family, let's say they are fond of meat eating, the whole family, and this person from the birth he kind of constantly engaged with the meat eating, and that is a part of their culture and tradition, not just for this generation, for generation to generation. So for that soul, he is now placed into that circumstance, that situation, where he see, okay, this is a culture, this is the right way of doing. So the thought of, so there is a thought saying, oh, meat eating is a bad. It won't even come to his framework or his mind at all. Right? So this attachment to meat is based on where he is placed right now. Now you may say that attachment may change tomorrow, but for that we need an external what we say, impetus or a driver. And what those external driver would be? One example could be, he may get in touch with Vaishnava, or he may get in touch with some vegetarianism or vegetarian friend, or he may start reading spiritual books, or he may see some articles or see some video on how bad it is to kill the animals. And in the family setting, sometimes it is done by parents to their kids. So parents keep teaching. Sometimes parents get that knowledge, meat eating is not good, right? So these are external factors. When a person is situated is placed in a particular situation where everybody is say meat eating people, then how that soul will know that this is not good and there is something higher. So these are some of the external factors that will help to get him away from that attachment. Okay. The second category example is, as I said earlier, that lust or attraction for the opposite sex. So if you see the current culture around the world, not just America, but India, it's a freedom. That's kind of, we see that the freedom infusing the attraction, attachment, and eventually lust more and more at various levels, at various ages, right? So that culture itself, where you are placed, that drive that greed. So we looked at now how that one scenario is that greed, the reason could be where the people are placed in that circumstances. And the second one is when person make a decision carefully, where he choose. And what the examples are, for example, so on the TV, someone is watching movie, whatever category, and in the movie, say it could be Hollywood, it could be Bollywood. What movie presents a non-real life scenario? It could be non-real prosperity. So the movies show, okay, you can have a nice lavish bungalow, this kind of car, you can go to this, that. So that presents non-real prosperity. Movie, now what movie to be watched is the careful decision of that individual. He make that decision, right? Sometimes from the kids perspective, I was thinking what kids do, especially in US, they get more exposure to online games. As they learn, they also make a selection. Okay, I want to play that game, this game. The games of different natures, starting from violence to even fun stuff, right? So that eventually become the attraction. So I just took these two examples. One is movies, and movies could be not just prosperity. It could be, you know, on the bad side where lust. There are some movies which generate the lust and degrade for the opposite sex, right? So eventually, what here the person is making a decision, careful decision, rather than he is placed in that situation. So this is how sometimes the environment become a reason, or sometimes person make a explicit selection for that grade. So now with these examples, I'll talk about now the what endeavor means. So in the particular verse, it also talks about endeavors. Endeavors mean taking extra effort. Why person needs to take extra effort, right? We talked about that people have a hankering for material enjoyment, sense gratification, big house, a family with wife and children, everything. But now for that, he need to work hard. Now that's where the concept comes in, like a workaholism. You might have heard this term, this word, as simple as it means, working for long hours. Now, so to achieve something, so that you can enjoy your sense gratification, have a nice family, nice. So people sometimes work 16 hours, 18 hours. Now what they lose on the material side as well as on the spiritual side. So because that kind of a workaholism, that is working hard, is they don't get enough time to spend on their spiritual life. That is the impact on the spiritual end. They don't get enough time to even to spend with their kids. And you know what, and on the work perspective, this part sometimes it is appreciated, and that is a wrong appreciation, where people appreciate like, oh, you know, that person, he works so hard, he's the one person in that team, he's such a hard worker, we should appreciate. And that's a wrong appreciation. Again, when there is a real genuine situation, when we say in the corporate world, sometimes you work on some project where you really need to put or that level of effort, it's fine. But when you do, regardless of the actual need, when you do that as a kind of a habit, then that becomes your endeavor, extra endeavor, just to get more money and to keep your happy family, that all set up, right? So that is called a workaholism. And along with the workaholism, there is a second aspect called alcoholism, which is alcohol, right? That is liquor and all that. So that's, again, it all started with the association. It starts with, okay, there is no harm in consuming small every day, whatever alcohol is. But what they don't realize, that small, when the situation hits, which is a difficult situation, then person takes a shelter of that small, and that small become big. So that's the trap. So today you start with the small, but then it become attraction and it becoming into more and more attachment, right? So that's these are the two things from our real corporate life or from say the work life that we see. So that's the examples of the attachment and how that gets into the grade, right? So now going back to the purport. So Prabhupada says there is no end to sense gratification. There is really no end. He always wants to remain with his family and in his house and to continue the process of sense gratification. There is no cessation of this. Again, Prabhupada is saying the same, like there is no end to it. All these symptoms should be understood as characteristic of the mode of passion. Because sometimes question comes, what is mode of passion? Right? So this is a clarity. Okay, what the mode of passion, what are the characteristics? And now we will just do the quick recap what we discussed. We discussed this chapter. Before we get into this, we talked about what this chapter 14 is, that three material modes of nature. Then we understand in the first verse of this chapter 14, Krishna Bhagavan said this is the best of all knowledge. Then this chapter moves and talks about how these material modes, when the living entity come in touch with those, then how they make this entity condition. We talked about these three modes of nature are always in a competing fashion. It's not like one all the time individual in always in material one mode of goodness or other. It's always competing. Then we talked about the verse itself. In the verse, the first word is lobha. Lobha means hankering for more and more for what you don't have. And that's where attraction, that lobha could be for an opposite sex or for the material enjoyment. For that, we looked at three examples from, say, the Shastras. One is Duryodhana from Mahabharata. Second one is Bilvamangal Thakur's story where he has attraction for the prostitute. Third example is Ravana and his attraction towards Mother Sita. After that, we looked at what are the different causes. So we looked at this greediness comes as a based on your past karma, and sometimes, and the second is you are placed in the circumstances. So you're around whatever circumstances, and sometimes you make a selection explicitly. We also talked about modes of material nature never make a decision for you. They just act as a contributor. They provide the options, but they don't make a decision for you. Okay, you should pick this desire versus that desire. And then at the end, we talked about two examples of endeavors, extra intense endeavor, that is workaholism, working extra. And also we talked about another relevant thing, what is alcoholism that we see in the around us. So with that, I would conclude here what I would like to share. Thank you so much, and I would like to now ask to share your comment, realization, any questions. Thank you.
So one question, we have to work as an occupation. So how do we see that in terms of mode of passion?
Okay.
So this chapter mostly describes greed and how we go from greed to lust, and then the lust becomes, and lust becomes you craving for everything more and more, and then it doesn't do any good because we crave for more more like more of a like better house, better money, or whatever we crave for. That's lobha. So the in between the modes, this chapter says about the modes, the sukha and the happiness, and then the lust, and then the ignorance. Right, Mataji? Hello?
Yeah, that's true, Mataji.
Oh, yeah. Very good.
Thank you, Mataji. So, Mataji, to your question, in case of work, so based on my understanding, as we are all, let's say, we go to work every day for years, and one thing that I learned, one is let's say we are not doing business, but we are just working in any company, any corporate. So I think as we work, at least we do one thing. That is, one is how do I continue my job, because security is very important for some. For some, it's not just security, but continuous growth in the income is also important, right? So based on it's an individual, so how individuals see toward that job. For one individual, it is just a security, because I want a secured financial income every month. Now, for that, I mean, if going back to how much, this is probably not a, I don't know whether this is really great, but this is something to just sustain ourselves, right? Where you are just going to job just to get some money so we can sustain, and even for that particular, say, whatever the salary that what we earn, and if we end up, let's say, sometimes we spend many hours based on projects, and that sometime it could be for some time in a year, and if it is going to be regular, then the disadvantage is, yes, at least you have a security of your job, but on the spiritual side, that person will not be able to devote enough time, for example, chanting, or for example, reading books or attending lectures. So that is I would say the pros and cons. Even though there is no grade from that person to earn more money, but at least he has a desire to retain that job for sustenance. Then one thing that that person can think of is, if this is not helping on the spiritual side, then he can plan for maybe changing job to something which is can find a good balance of not just getting the financial flow, but also to devote time. That's what I think, Mother.
Yeah, I mean, in a sense, you're saying that work-life balance that they keep talking at work all the time, and the life side of it just doesn't mean spending time with your family and things like that, but also in your spiritual life, you know.
Hare Krishna. I think this chapter says most about lobha, the greed, which we have for more and more and more. We are not satisfied with what we have. That's what distracts us from spiritual consciousness, and that's why we should be doing something. Instead of greed, we should be thinking about happiness, that is eternal happiness. Right, Mataji?
Right.
Okay. One thing that I would like to comment, I mean, what I was reading, the happiness compared to pleasure. So sometimes we take it up pleasure as a happiness, meaning examples are like when we earn money and when we use that money for us, for family, for kid, many of those things are really kind of pleasure activity. These are not really a happiness, but that's something very essential for us to understand what really happiness is and what is the pleasure is. These are all kind of pleasure activity and not a true happiness. That's what I learned.
Yeah, but these activities that we do for the pleasure of our family or whatever gives us some happiness though, right?
And again, if that's the happiness, then again it's a temporary. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, obviously temporary happiness. Yeah. I mean, there's a very big difference between permanent happiness and temporary, ephemeral happiness.
yeah.
And that's the key. I mean, recognizing what is our sustaining eternal happiness.
True. Okay. Any other comment, questions? Okay. If no question, then maybe we can stop here.
Nice class, Madhukanta.
Thank you, Mataji. Vancha kalpa tarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.